I never thought I'd be the kind of man to share a story like this. My life was as ordinary as they come, a decent job in IT, a modest home in the suburbs, and a wife I thought I'd grow old with. Her name was Rachel, and we'd been married for 10 years. Our lives weren't perfect, but whose are? We had routines, inside jokes, and a history I thought was unshakable. Turns out, I was wrong. It all started with small things. Rachel was glued to her phone more often than usual. She'd laugh at messages and quickly lock the screen when I came near. She started dressing up more, even for simple errands. At first I ignored it. I chalked it up to her finding new interests or reconnecting with old friends. But when she started coming home late without reasonable explanations, I couldn't deny the gut feeling that something was wrong. I decided to investigate. One evening when Rachel was in the shower, I unlocked her phone. It wasn't hard. I knew her passcode. What I found turned my stomach. Dozens of messages from someone named Ethan. They weren't ambiguous. Flirty texts, inside jokes, and plans to meet up. My heart pounded as I scrolled further. The messages made it clear that this wasn't just emotional cheating. Rachel had crossed the line. I confronted her that night. She didn't deny it. Instead, she tried to justify her actions. "We've been distant, Mark," she said, her eyes brimming with tears. "Ethan makes me feel alive again. You've been so focused on work." Her words cut deep, but they weren't excuses. I worked hard to provide for us, and I thought she understood that. The betrayal was like a punch to the gut, but what came next was worse. She insisted she wasn't going to end things with Ethan. She needed time to figure things out. That wasn't the worst part. The worst part came 3 days later when Ethan showed up at my house unannounced. I was in the kitchen when the doorbell rang. Rachel opened it, and there he stood, Ethan. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and exuded the cocky arrogance of someone who'd never been told no. I immediately disliked him. He walked in without being invited, as if he owned the place. Rachel looked flustered but didn't stop him. Ethan glanced around and smirked when his eyes landed on me. "You must be Mark," he said, extending his hand like we were meeting at a networking event. "I'm Ethan." I didn't take his hand. "I know who you are," I said, my voice steady. "What are you doing in my house?" He laughed, actually laughed. "Your house? That's funny," he said, looking at Rachel. "I think Rachel would disagree. Isn't that right, babe? Babe, in my house." I felt my fists clench, but I forced myself to stay calm. Losing my temper wouldn't help. Rachel tried to diffuse the tension. "Ethan, maybe this isn't a good idea." But he waved her off. No, I'm fine. Just wanted to meet the guy I keep hearing about. The man who let a woman like you slip through his fingers. It was a challenge, plain and simple. He wanted to provoke me, to assert dominance. He leaned against my kitchen counter as if staking his claim. "You got a nice place here, Mark," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "But let's be real. I'm the alpha now. Alpha." The word hung in the air, absurd and infuriating. Rachel looked horrified, but she didn't stop him. She didn't defend me. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about her betrayal. It was about my dignity, and I wasn't about to let this smug bastard walk all over me. That night, I barely slept. I could have thrown him out, screamed at Rachel, or even resorted to violence, but none of that would have fixed the situation. I needed something better. Something that would not only humiliate Ethan but also make Rachel realize the gravity of her choices. I started by gathering information. Over the next week I became a man on a mission. I learned everything I could about Ethan. His full name, where he worked, his social media profiles. It wasn't hard. People like him loved to brag online. He was a real estate agent, always flaunting his luxury lifestyle and expensive suits. But digging deeper, I found cracks in the facade. Negative reviews from clients, complaints about his arrogance, and most importantly, a massive ego. I also made a point of playing the part of the defeated husband. I let Rachel think I was too broken to fight back. I acted distant, giving her the space she said she needed. It was all part of the plan. A week later, I invited Ethan and Rachel over for dinner. They were surprised, but I framed it as my attempt to move forward and be mature about the situation. Ethan, of course, couldn't resist the opportunity to gloat. The dinner was awkward, but I played the gracious host. I complimented Ethan's success and even let him ramble about his latest real estate deals. Rachel seemed relieved, thinking I was accepting their relationship. She had no idea what was coming. After dessert, I suggested we move to the living room. "I have something to show you," I said. Ethan raised an eyebrow but followed. I pulled out my laptop and connected it to the TV. "Ethan," I began, "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about being the alpha, and I realized you're right. You are the alpha of something." He grinned, not catching the sarcasm. "Glad you're finally seeing things my way, Mark." I clicked play on the video. It was a montage of screenshots and clips I'd put together from his social media, the negative reviews from clients, the complaints about his unprofessional behavior, even a clip of him drunkenly berating a waiter at a restaurant. All of it was there, perfectly edited and set to dramatic music. Ethan's face turned pale as the video played. "What the hell is this?" he demanded. "It's your highlight reel," I said, smiling. I took the liberty of sending it to a few key people. Your employer, your clients, and the real estate board in your area. You might want to check your phone. Right on cue, his phone buzzed, and buzzed, and buzzed. He pulled it out and swore under his breath as he read the notifications. His carefully curated image was crumbling before his eyes. "You son of a—" he started, but I cut him off. "Careful, Ethan," I said. "You wouldn't want to say something that might be recorded. Like this entire evening, for example." He looked at Rachel, expecting her to defend him, but she was staring at me, her face a mix of shock and something else. Respect, maybe, or regret. "Mark, this is insane," she said, finally finding her voice. "You didn't have to go this far." I turned to her, my expression calm. "Rachel, you brought this man into my house. He called himself the alpha. You let him disrespect me. I'm simply showing him what happens when he messes with someone who has nothing left to lose." Ethan stormed out, his phone still buzzing. Rachel stayed behind, tears streaming down her face. "Mark, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything," I replied. "Just go." The aftermath. Ethan's career took a nosedive. The real estate board launched an investigation into his conduct, and several of his clients dropped him. Word spread quickly in his circles, and his once shiny reputation was tarnished beyond repair. Rachel tried to apologize, to salvage our marriage, but I couldn't do it. The trust was gone. I filed for divorce and focused on rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy, but with every step forward I felt a little lighter. As for Ethan, I heard through the grapevine that he'd moved to another state, trying to start fresh. But I doubted he'd ever forget the lesson he learned in my house. In the end, I didn't just take back my dignity. I reminded myself of my worth, and if that's not the ultimate revenge, I don't know what is.